Naomi Osaka, 23 years old, winning Grand Slam number 4, her second Australian Open final, taking down Jenny Brady, who was the American left, who was a 22 seed in the tournament. But I think the big story out of this, for me at least, came in the semifinals when Osaka took down her idol, Serena Williams, who was still in the hunt for Grand Slam number 24 to tie the all-time record. But Osaka now is 2-0 against Williams in majors. The first one came in the 2018 U.S. Open final. And many are speculating for Serena, who is now going on 39 years old. She was in tears in her press conference. She gave a very heartfelt goodbye to the fans in Melbourne in the Australian Open. And basically said in her press conference that, listen, if it was her time to go and this was her goodbye, she would never admit it, and she would go out silently. To me, this felt like a passing of the torch from Serena to Osaka as the face of women's tennis. And listen, Serena is always going to be in that light as long as she is in the game. But with the speculation of retirement, Osaka now picking up Grand Slam number 4 at age 23. She is the highest earning female athlete in the world. Does this feel like a passing of the torch to you guys? Because listen, Osaka has a long way to go. She's the king of hardcourt tennis right now on the women's side for sure. She has all 4 Grand Slams there, but she still has yet to make it past the third round at Roland Garros and Wimbledon. Does this feel like a significant passing of the torch to you guys?
I'm not sure. Yeah. Nick, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. I'm thinking about it, and I'm not sure yet. I don't know if I'm ready to go there just yet because, again, it's passing of the torch is relative. And as you mentioned, some of the lack of success that Osaka has had in other places outside of the Australian Open and the U.S. Open. So that, I think, is an important part of this conversation, in addition to, as the face of women's tennis, that's going to be Serena Williams as long as she's still around. And I would imagine, of course, not having been someone who's been pregnant before, clearly I would think that it would be difficult to come back from that and dealing with, trying to get yourself in shape to compete amongst some of the best female athletes in the world, coming off of a pregnancy. That's the other thing that I think gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, even at her, especially at her advanced age now of 39 years old. So I don't think the book is closed on Serena Williams. I think, again, we had this conversation in the last few days about, who's the greatest athlete of all time, with Brady winning his 7th ring and LeBron reaching 35,000 points. And there is a case to be made that it's Serena Williams, despite the greatness of those two, and Michael Jordan you can throw in there. I mean, Serena Williams throughout her career has been that good. So I think that it's still one of those things where, as someone who is an American and her story coming from Compton and everything that goes along with that, she's still going to be the face of women's tennis as long as she's around. Perhaps despite what the results might lead you to believe, Osaka could get there at some point. I just don't think a 4th, as impressive as that is at 24 years old, I don't think we're there yet, just because of the brand and the cachet that is Serena Williams.
I think we have to remember too, at least in this tournament, you could argue that up until that match on Wednesday night, that Serena was playing her best tennis since the maternity. And, she had been to the U.S. Open final in 18 and 19. And every time you see her go deep in a Grand Slam now, you start to think, all right, is this the last? Like, it's a horrible thought to have, but to a lesser extent, I think you also have that thought with, Tom Brady, for example, in football, where he just wins the Super Bowl and you're like, all right, is that going to be the last? And then you remember, no, he's coming back next year and he's still really good. There's still 3 more majors here, and Serena Williams has won 7 Wimbledons and 6 U.S. Opens, and those are still on the calendar. So, that gives her a chance. And I think we're all prisoners in the moment when these things happen. You watch that match Wednesday night, Naomi Osaka was dominant from after the first couple of games of the first set. Like, she rolled Serena after that. And I don't know how much there was, honestly, for Serena to do about it, just because, I'm sitting there watching this match, and Naomi's serve was really popping, really in the second set especially. And she would have been hard to beat, I think, by anyone that night. She just played really, really well. And we tend to overreact when somebody like Serena Williams, for example, walks off the court and puts her hand on her heart and thanks the fans who were there. So could this turn into a passing of the torch eventually? Yeah, but I'm not ready to go there right now, because Serena Williams is still a force in women's tennis. She has started the year playing really well, and I think that's a big part of it. And I've learned the hard way not to count out some of the greats in sports, and Serena Williams is right there among them, obviously. So I am not about to count her out, and I think she might have one more major in her before she ultimately hangs it up, whether that be this year or at some point down the line.
I just don't know mentally how much more she can handle. And that's got to be the thing that I would think is most frustrating with her, because, you look at her last two majors, great opportunities to get back to a Grand Slam final. The U.S. Open against Victoria Azarenka, she dominates the first set and ends up losing that one in 3. One she definitely let get away with unforced error after unforced error. In this match, she's up a break in the first set against Osaka. And the mistakes for Serena, they're very simple mistakes. And she was talking about this in her post-game press conference. It's like, why are these things happening? Like, they were very easy mistakes that are fixable theoretically, but mentally you just feel like you watch her and you can see 23 weighing on her. Like, you can really see that. And that's, I think, got to be the thing that's most frustrating as a tennis fan, because you want to root for her so badly to get number 24 because of all she's given to this sport. And she is arguably the greatest athlete to ever step foot on this earth. There's no question about it. How many people on the planet, actually no one really on this planet can say that they've won a Grand Slam and completed something of this achievement level whilst being pregnant. Like, that's incredible. That might be the most incredible accomplishment in the history of sports. But to me, I do think this is a bit of a passing the torch, because I think you look at Osaka and the game that she has really developed over this past season. She has gotten so much better. From a mobility standpoint, there's no one better. The serve has really come along, and she's definitely added a ton of velocity to that. And her ground strokes are incredible. I think you look at her, and I don't think there's really a question that she's the best in the world right now, even though she wasn't even the top seed in this tournament. And like I mentioned before, I do think there has to be some improvement. We need to see results on the clay. We need to see results on the grass, but I think they're coming with the way her game has evolved just even over this past calendar year. She's won 2 straight Grand Slams. She's halfway now to the calendar year Grand Slam. I think this was a bit of a passing of the torch, and now she's starting to separate herself from the rest of the pack. Obviously, she's got a long way to go to catch Serena, and I don't think anyone will come close. But if it's going to be someone, it's going to be her, and I think it's coming soon. And it'll be interesting to see how things fare, especially when Roland Garros rolls around and Wimbledon comes, to see how much has she fixed on those surfaces. But she's got another Grand Slam, and the sport is in great shape. Let's be honest, too, because, Osaka, when she first came along, she was really shy, and rightfully so, too. She's a 20-year-old on the biggest stage winning a Grand Slam. I think all of us would be pretty shy, but she's now been outspoken a lot more. She has a boyfriend now, that's for sure. And I think it's really cool to see her now embracing her greatness at this age. And it's going to be really cool to watch going forward. And Jenny Brady's no slouch herself. She's now been to a semifinal at the U.S. Open when she lost to Osaka in a great match, and now going to the Australian Open final. She's got a bright future ahead of her as well.